Hot off the press, we often see the community refer to our matchmaking system as skill-based matchmaking. Call of Duty does consider skill, or more specifically player performance, as a component, as do most in the industry, but skill is not the dominant variable. We consider and prioritize several factors to create lobbies. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. It's LtBuzzLitebeer, and I've got to admit, posting a COD video to the channel, especially this late in the day, was completely off my radar. But finally, here, let me just say that again. Finally, the Call of Duty Activision devs have admitted what we've suspected all along. Remember to hit subscribe and ring the notifications bell to receive those upload alerts. Likes, comments, shares are of course greatly appreciated. Here's another unscripted video coming at you, and let's get into this because it's been years in the making. Okay, let's just dive straight into this one, and it feels like I'm pulling off a Band-Aid of sorts. I mean, I was with Call of Duty in the glory days, you know, MW2, the OG one back in 2009, and it was a fabulous time to be alive and online gaming, and I know there have been some good installments since, but for the most part, I drifted away from the franchise, mainly because of a couple key issues, one of which is addressed in this matchmaking intel post. And as I said in the intro, it's hot off the press from the Call of Duty staff addressed at all things matchmaking. Whoops, time out, press pause for just a sec. I lied. This is in fact not the first time we've seen this spill out into public, at least not from the studio side, as last November we got this tweet from Modern Warzone sent to them allegedly by an Activision rep, and it kind of outlines the many factors they take into account when it comes down to matchmaking. And I believe this is the first time they ever publicly addressed the topic, they being Activision, because, you know, you could just YouTube search Call of Duty SBMM or skill-based matchmaking and just be prepared for the noise to hit you straight in the chops. I'm going to let you do that on your own time because today's intel dump takes time to wade through, and I'm not sure why I just used the term dump there, maybe a Freudian slip, but this COD blog was aimed at dispelling the rumors surrounding matchmaking in general, along with the general perception of SBMM being in place, which, spoiler alert, is a real thing, and it's finally confirmed here in this dev blog. Quote, we often see the community refer to our matchmaking system as skill-based matchmaking. Call of Duty does consider skill, so they're confirming it, or more specifically, player performance as a component, as do most in the industry. I like that quick jab, by the way, trying to throw shade and deflect from the topic, but skill is not the dominant variable. We consider and prioritize several factors to create lobbies. Okay, it seems convoluted to me, but down to brass tacks, and it's time to check out this graphic of everything Call of Duty says they take into consideration when attempting to matchmake you into a lobby, starting off with connection, which makes sense, right? Time to match, how long to place you into a lobby, skill/performance, the biggie that until recently was shunned as a topic by Activision, platform, are you on console or PC, voice chat, I have no idea on that one. Input device, that's either controller or mouse and keyboard. Recent maps and modes, I guess if you were just hitting DOM on a trio of maps, how likely are they to again place you into those maps and modes? And then obviously playlist diversity, are you just spamming shipment over and over again? Now, the three pillars of the matchmaking algos we'll discuss in a moment. You've got number 1, connections, number 2, time to match, and of course number 3, that item that they've avoided discussing for years and years and years, even openly denying super sweaty try-hard mode, aka skill-based matchmaking. But first, the devs kind of went into this discussion discussing things like player engagement and did it factor into better matchmaking lobbies. Did they use bots? Did content creators receive preferential treatment for matchmaking? Lower damage output for high skill players, higher armor values for noobs, and did more money spent on COD equal better matchmaking lobbies? All of which they deny openly in this blog. And finally, we get statements about prior consideration and work done with an opt-in, opt-out system for matchmaking, which I think would be heavenly, and removing skill from the matchmaking algorithm altogether, both of which they say the team has looked it all over, and according to their internal data, the way they implement the matchmaking system now makes more sense to do. And I'm going to punch through that fog on this one in just a minute. But for now, back to those 3 pillars, starting off with connections, because you got to remember that ping is king. Now, it's explained as using an item called delta ping to measure the round trip time between your best data center, almost always the one closest to you, and the data center onto which your lobby has been placed. And I have a problem with this one, is there are so many times in the past that I'm placed into a lobby and it loads in at basically, what, 2 FPS? And the voice chat is definitely foreign, despite living on the East Coast US. Pillar number 2 is the time to match, which in layman's terms is how long it takes between pressing the matchmaker button and entering the actual game. And as you'll see, this is part of a bigger metric they place absolute value on. But they actually say that backing out of the matchmaker and trying to re-queue actually is detrimental to getting you into a match quickly. All right. While connections and time to match are important, I'll concede that, it is skill and how it factors into matchmaking that everyone is interested in. And here it is, and for this, I'm just going to read it verbatim. Skill is determined based on a player's overall performance. Kills, deaths, wins, losses, and more, including mode selection and recent matches as an overall metric across all multiplayer experiences. This is a fluid measurement that's consistently updating and reacting to your gameplay. Skill is not only a factor in matchmaking players against appropriate enemies, but also when finding teammates. Call of Duty has historically considered player performance among other factors as part of our matchmaking process. Our work in this area dates back as early as COD 4, Modern Warfare, in 2007. Skill is implemented across the video game industry, there they are throwing shade again, and we recognize that continuous refinement is required to deliver the best possible experience for our players. We use player performance to ensure that the disparity between the most skilled player in the lobby and the least skilled player in the lobby isn't so vast that players feel their match is a waste of time. Our data on player outcomes clearly indicates that the inclusion of skill in Call of Duty's multiplayer matchmaking process, as it currently stands, increases the variety of outcomes experienced by players of all skill levels. In other words, all players, regardless of skill level, are more likely to experience wins and losses more proportionately. Our data shows that when lower skill players are consistently on the losing end, that means they're getting curb stomped match after match, they are likely to quit matches in progress or stop playing altogether. This has an effect on the player pool. A smaller player pool means wait times for matches increase and connections may not be as strong as they should be. This can compound over time to create a spiral effect. Eventually, when only high-skilled players remain because lower-skilled players have quit out of frustration, the result is an ecosystem that is worse overall for everyone. I'm going to give you some more facts on that in a moment. Game data indicates that having some limitations on the disparity of skill across the players in a match makes for a healthier ecosystem. We also understand that many high-skill players want more variety of experience, but often feel that they only get the sweatiest of lobbies. That is true. We have heard this feedback clearly and will continue to test and actively explore ways to mitigate this concern. Okay, that was a massive wall of text and just a very lengthy description. And you know how I like to hit you with TLDRs. I'm going to break it all down for you in very easy to understand terms. Here it is. Number 1, skill has finally been confirmed by the developers as a factor in their matchmaking algorithms after all of these years of just flatly denying it or just not answering the question altogether. Number 2, kills, deaths, wins, losses, they all factor into this skill metric, which means, and we already knew this, you could purposely go 0-20, you could fool the algo system, and you could get placed into one of those noob lobbies before just going full ham. Number 3, these devs are clearly concerned about and catering to the casual player, because if these players were just placed into natural matchmaking lobbies, kind of like you get what you get in terms of opponents, then those less skilled players would continually die to more skilled players, causing those less skilled players to quit the lobby, and that would hurt the overall COD gaming experience, at least according to the devs. Number 4, and the real truth to all of this is right here. They don't care if you're a COD god or a newbie McSwaggins. What they care about, and really the only metric they care about, is number 1, player engagement, and number 2, how much time did you spend in the game? Because those 2 factors are how you drive up player retention, money spent in game, reoccurring sales, and at the end of the road, happy shareholders. Now, of course, they don't come out and expressly say it in those words, but that's really what's going on here. Players' parity and rewarding the interactions with the COD gaming loop is the name of the game, and from all indications, despite players raising hell about their dislike for this mechanic, even asking for it to only be implemented in ranked mode, this thing is here to stay, at least until those time spent in game numbers dip low enough that corporate demands it to be changed. Leave me some feedback and I'll do my best to respond. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this unscripted format. Again, remember to hit subscribe and ring the notifications bell to receive my latest upload alerts. Likes, comments, shares are of course greatly appreciated. All my socials can be found in the video description. Shout out to the nearly 190,000 of you that have stuck with me and hit subscribe. 200K is nearly in sight, and why not hit that sub button and come along for the ride? Until the next one, this is LtBuzzLitebeer signing off.